Welcome back to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. We are here talking about your inner life and what we call the beautiful work because doing your inner work makes your life beautiful. We have discovered and we're living that every day. So we are here to help you discover that for yourself and to share our journey with you as well. Today, we are closing out our month of January 2024. We've been focusing on confidence this month and a lot of interesting aspects and different twists and turns around confidence and helping you strengthen and build your confidence and ways that you can do it in ways that you thought you maybe you never would have thought of or have surprised you. I hope you listened to all of them. And today we're wrapping up our month with Laurel, a topic I am so, I don't know, not so excited, but very, let me see. I want to find the right word. Bear with me, everybody. I am feeling so positive and good about sharing this with our listeners and friends out there today. And our topic is intuition and your confidence. So, another twist and turn for you, everybody, in our confidence journey this month. Laurel, welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited to talk about this topic.
I am too.
As you were introducing it and talking about feeling into it, I was just thinking about all the years that as a young woman I spent reading these articles in magazines
Mhm.
about improving your confidence, right?
Yeah.
About how about all of the training in, the professional world in the workplace of how to be a more confident speaker, all of those things. And none of those articles or trainings that I've ever been through taught me how to use my intuition as a way to find confidence.
Yes. Or to experience
Yes,
confidence, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So, Laurel, as we open the show, first, what I want to invite everybody to do today is I want you to sometimes when we have the show, we invite you to get quiet, to find some space to really be still a little bit with us because we're going to go into the zone. What I like to think of as the zone today. We're going to go into that more still, quiet place to help encourage you to get connected to your own intuition and to your own inner stillness. And I want to say right from the beginning, I think one of the primary ways of connecting with your intuition, right, is to start to tone down some of the noise in your life because amongst all the other noise that's going on within you, if you have a noisy life and a busy life, it's hard to discern the sound, the voice, the sensation of your intuition if you're in a jingle jangle, jumbled up kind of a regular experience. So we're going to invite you today to get a little quiet with us and get a little still and soften up a little bit and see if you can connect a little bit with your own intuition. Maybe we'll even throw in a few minutes of meditation in the middle, Laurel. What do you think?
It sounds so good.
Yeah.
Lead away, Laurel, lead away.
I'm going to lead away here. So I am doing a online class with Caroline Myss, who, if anybody knows about Caroline, she is what I think of as the goddess of chakras. She introduced, I think, not introduced, but maybe introduced to my generation, our generation, or the Western world, the energy systems of our body that really are based in yogic Eastern philosophy. And she brought a wisdom, a kind of a westernized wisdom or understanding, I think, to the chakra system. Anyway, I'm doing this course with her called The Science of Medical Intuition. And one of the things that she says that I'm sharing with everybody today to start as our baseline of this show is that intuition is not a gift that some people have. Intuition is a given. We all have it. So the question is out there, are you connected with yours? Are you listening? Yeah.
Are you giving your intuition room to be with you? Right?
Yes, to speak to you.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
because sometimes I think that it's not even that we're not listening, that we just don't make space for intuition. in our knowledge base, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it is a given that we all have it. And interestingly, um, for many of us and listeners out there, as Laurel and I both here are women. We identify as women. We coach a lot of women, but we also coach men. And I feel like it's really important to understand that intuition is not a woman's gift. It is a gift to all human life. All human beings have an intuition. And I actually live with a man. I'm married to a man who's very intuitive. So I see it in real time in my life. Thankfully, he's learned his ability to listen into what and reads his intuition well and uses it in his life. So that's a good thing. Yeah. So Laurel, I know we
Yes.
both got disconnected from our intuition. We have our stories. We'll share a little bit about that today. What's coming up for you right now as we're talking and introducing this idea to
Well,
our listeners?
at first I want to say I love Caroline Myss.
I know.
And for our listeners, if you're not familiar with her, we'll put her name in the show notes, but her last name is spelled Myss.
Yeah.
Now, I found her through the Anatomy of the Spirit,
Mhm.
and she also is the author of the Sacred Contracts book, which is the Soul Contracts.
Yeah. And
I'm a big
Entering the Castle is another one of
yes,
her. She has many books. I
I'm
mean,
a
those are
big
the three
fan.
that jump out right away. Yeah.
And and just thinking about she is a medical intuitive, right?
Yeah.
And worked as that before an author. So
Yeah.
it just when I guess what's coming up for me is that so many people think that intuition is, as you said, women's intuition is a term that we use.
Mhm.
Or a lot of people think intuition is woo, right?
Yeah.
But I just want to offer that there's a real place in the world for the wisdom and knowledge of intuition,
Mhm.
and the science of intuition,
Yeah.
right, is a great example of that, that there's a science to it.
Mhm.
Um, and I love that we all have it, and it's not that, it's a gift that some of us have and some don't.
Yeah. And one of the things that I want to say about my husband is I worked with him in a business for almost 10 years. We worked together in this business. And I watched him as a leader. And I realized that one of the reasons he was such a strong and gifted leader was because he employed his intuition.
Mm,
And I watched how he intuitively knew how to handle situations. He knew how to manage a circumstance in a way that might not have come up for me, right? And yet intuitively knew what to do, and he followed that instinct, and it always was successful. So, I feel like this, as what we're talking about here in terms of intuition, right, is a part of the intelligence of your human existence, and to ignore it is often, I think, why we don't end up feeling confident. That's the
yes,
thread here. Yeah.
yes. And it happens when that self-doubt comes up, when we have an, inner knowing, right?
Right.
We have an inner intelligence that we're feeling or sensing or hearing, however it shows up for you,
Yeah.
and we're dismissing it.
Yeah.
And and then this inner conflict comes in, and we start to doubt ourselves. We start to really overthink and can't really make decisions confidently.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so the overthinking, here's how I think how I have happened to align with my intuition and use it well, is having a sense that my intuition comes from a deep part of my beingness, my body. Literally, it comes from below the neck, and that the strongest aspects of my intelligence are actually below my neck. And for many of us, we've been conditioned to believe our mind and our brain, our head, right, is the place, the source to rely on always as the best place, right, to get your wisdom, right, to get your ideas and then to make your decisions, so to speak.
Yes. Yes.
And I know for me, the more that I've become able to align with my intuition, my inner knowing, my decisions come from there. My mind follows that with a good plan of how to act on it and interacts with it in a way that then serves me and other people really well. But that's not the leading guide anymore. Yeah.
And I love that. I love that you actually, you use your mind, your brain,
Mhm.
cognitive ability to process the plan,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But you are listening to your
Mhm.
intuition. And
Yeah.
my intuition, when I'm most connected to my intuition, it's loud. It's a voice for me.
Mm,
At least in the biggest times in my life that it has showed up. And in those times, and maybe that's where there's a differential here, there have been big things that I might not have done if it weren't for the big presence of my intuition,
mm,
right? And
yeah.
maybe my intuition shows up in other ways as subtle, we call them nudges, right?
Hmm.
Subtle nudges, subtle whispers, um, that I tend to, maybe I overlook it sometimes thinking it's just a thought, right?
Hmm.
So I love the practice, as it's coming through to me right now. You know, is there a practice that we could really create to get our head out of the game, right?
Yeah. 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 Well, I think that we come back to that idea of how do you get still or or make some space in your life enough to really understand what's happening in your inner world? Because in order to get a connection with your intuition, you have to be listening to the impulses from within and to also know how your intuition speaks to you, right? So
Yes.
I know probably over the last year or two, right? I've gotten a sense that my intuition feels like it's almost getting more auditory, like it's coming in as messages, right? Um, and yet there's a specific feeling quality to it that's different than me coming up with a thought or an idea.
Yes.
And that's subtle. It's not blatant or obvious for me. So that's why I
Yeah.
encourage people to, find some space and some time to start to examine, to really get your own relationship with how your being and body is speaking to you so you can sort through what is intuition and what is just, the noise of all the past stuff and the things you're supposed to do or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up because not everyone experiences intuition I can't say the word. Say it.
Auditorily.
I'm thinking about an auditorium,
Yeah.
auditorily,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
But I mean, I know in the last week or two, occasionally I've had this sensation in my body that is it's a warm stirring.
Mm.
Um, and I say warm because, an anxious feeling isn't warm, right? An anxious feeling is stirring, unsettled energy, but not warm. So this is more of a warm stirring. And when it shows up, I notice it and I pause.
Yeah. There you go.
And I don't, I don't know what it is,
Hmm.
but I know there's something coming to me through me that
Yeah.
and so I'm starting to learn that aspect of my intuition with just noticing
Yeah.
and like you say, making space for it.
Yeah, right. And developing a relationship with it, which is what you're doing, right? With the pause and the attention, you're starting to relate to it, saying, I think there's something important here. I think you're important to that feeling, right?
That's right.
And I'm going to wait and I'm going to just see what you have what you're offering me here. And I
That's
want to
right.
give you some space for that, right?
Yeah. And it's the appreciation of the
Yeah.
noticing, the awareness,
Mhm.
and appreciating that there's something there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then tell us and tell our listeners,
Mhm.
um, how. before it was auditory for you,
Mm.
how did your intuition show up?
I think it was very physical, like kinesthetic, and almost a sense of being pulled to something. Like I remember one of the big hits for me that was, I knew it felt really strongly intuitive, and literally was an event that changed the course of my life. Was my mother and I this was in 1996. We were having an outing together. We were actually going to a psychic in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I was living in Massachusetts at the time. Something that my mother and I didn't do. It wasn't like we were traveling around going to psychics or having psychic experiences all the time. This was an unusual event that we were doing this and having lunch together. And so we're on our way to Portsmouth. And we were at the turn where if we were going to take the exit off the highway, we could make a detour and go visit my cousin who lived in New Hampshire, in Exeter, New Hampshire. And she said, "What do you think, Laurel? Do you think we should?" And I immediately had the strongest yes, pull in my body, get off the exit. So it was like, yeah. So we got right off the exit. Well, we parked in the downtown area and we went up to his office and he wasn't there. Knocked on the door, knock, knock, knock. No, Mark, spontaneous. We didn't call, we didn't do anything. No, he's not there. So we look at each other and I turn around. And when I turned around, I saw the door to Women Supporting Women, a center run by Claire Houston. And on the door was a basket hanging with her newsletter. And so I said, "Oh, I think this is why I was supposed to be here today." And I pulled out the newsletter and took it with us. Well, on our way back from our outing, I started looking at the newsletter, and lo and behold, that was the reason that I was going to Exeter, New Hampshire that day, because that was the beginning of us opening our own women's center in Massachusetts, modeled on Claire's center. I took peer leadership training there. I saw, watched Claire as a leader and as a psychotherapist and was inspired by her. And that's why I went and did my master's work. And so my whole life changed from that one intuitive yes. Yeah.
And that is the beauty
Yeah.
of intuition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And developing your confidence, right? When we come back to this idea of every step that I took after that, where I started trusting my intuition, trusting my gut feeling about things, trusting the pull towards doing my master's at a certain point or teaching a bunch of Tai Chi classes, this or that. Does this feel right? Does that feel right? And trusting that built the confidence of starting to step into a life that felt completely in tune with who I am in the deepest parts of myself. And when we're walking through life feeling like we are living into our full, highest self, it's just a natural confidence that we feel.
Yeah.
It's
And
not a thing that we have to try to feel. It's
right,
there.
right, right. We
Yeah.
don't have to work on being confident. We
Right.
are confident
Yeah.
because of our intuition.
Yes, yes. And because we are simply being who we are. I don't make excuses for who I am anymore. I don't feel badly for the ways that I'm different or don't fit into society in the way that many other people do or whatever. I'm just being me. And I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
And when you think about that, you know, the path to confidence, because you can just simply be who you are,
Mhm.
who you were meant to be,
Yeah.
and you have an internal guidance system, right? It's your internal GPS
Yes. Yes.
that is going to lead you to where you're supposed to be
Yeah.
on this journey of being yourself.
Right. Right. And I think the biggest question I get from so many people, Laurel, and I think you probably find this too, is, well, how do you know? What's the GPS? How's the GPS, you know, how are you supposed to know which turn to take? Or I can't, I think I'm doing it, but everything's not turning out just great. Like I get questions like that all the time.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I mean that's a great reminder,
Mhm.
because learning to listen to your intuition or trust your intuition or being able to allow your intuition to be your guide, right? You know, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, when I was going through my divorce and I knew it was the right thing for me, it did not feel good. There were
I
aspects
know,
of it that felt terrible.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Even, leaving a job, right?
Yeah.
Or ending a friendship. Like there
Mhm.
are times when, what our intuition is leading us through doesn't feel good. But part of that relationship with your intuition
Yeah.
is trusting that you don't know the why.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even know the how, but that is really the path that you are. I don't love the word supposed to because it feels a lot like should, but
Yeah.
it's
Feels
it's
right.
it's the path for you.
Right. And I want to say, sometimes when we're making these hard decisions like getting a divorce, right? And working through that, it was really hard, really, really, really difficult, painful in so many ways. But in the deepest part of me, I knew it was the proper thing for me to be doing and for my family, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yes.
And not everybody was going to agree with that. That's the other
Yes.
thing about, your intuition and developing the strong relationship with it because I knew it was right for me. I knew it was right for my family. I wasn't going to be able to show that that was true until later after it had all happened.
Yes.
Everybody's okay and everybody's got a good life going on. Like I can't, I have to trust that and I have to have the confidence that I can walk through it and rise to the occasion and be who I need to be to execute the rest of it. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting thinking about confidence, right, as a way of being, right?
Mhm.
Like, oftentimes I think we're led to believe that we need to learn confidence.
Right.
But here we have this innate internal ability,
Yeah.
um, to be confident.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I want to say, as our listeners begin to develop their relationship with their own intuition is many times you're going to get from people they want a logical explanation for
Oh,
your
yes,
decision. And when we're having an intuitive guidance go on, it doesn't necessarily fit into a logical equation or explanation.
that's right.
So one of the things you have to get comfortable with is saying, just because I know this is right for me.
Or just because I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had this experience when, I mean, I've had it a few times, and now that you're talking through it, I can even see flashbacks of events in my life or decisions, pathways that opened up for me, right?
Hmm.
That were not my cognitive decision, but presented themselves, right? And I moved in that direction, knowing that it was the right thing for me to do. But, some of the inner knowingness you can't explain, you
Right.
know, there's no rational reason. And, one of my examples was when I was diagnosed with a tumor
Mm,
and I knew it wasn't cancer.
mm.
And then I had to go through, 5, 6 weeks of testing and diagnostics in order to get, the medical professional
Evidence.
comfort evidence. Yeah, evidence, that's a good word. Confirmation
Mm,
that what I knew to be true was true.
yeah.
And people would say to me during that time, "Oh, you must be really scared." And I would say, and I remember a conversation about my children, right? "Oh, your girls must be really scared too." And I was like, "No, we're not scared." And they couldn't understand how I wasn't scared, but I knew I didn't have
Yeah.
cancer.
Yeah.
I knew I had a tumor,
Hmm.
but I knew it wasn't cancer.
Yeah.
And because I had that inner knowingness, it really did affect my way of being. It gave me confidence that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it gave me confidence that I didn't need to be fearful in this time.
Mm.
I was so curious,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
That's
it
big.
was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of, starting to be able to sort through how your intuition and being strongly connected to it and trusting it and following it helps you work with fear. And also the idea of helping you stay curious, right?
Yeah,
Because intuition, because there is no logic or rationality around it, you have to remain curious to see how is this going to play out? How
that's
is this
right.
going to happen, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and when you think about the connection between intuition and, fear, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I don't, it, I think that our lack of confidence when we experience that is fear-based,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I really do think that confidence is a fear buster, right?
Yeah. It is a fear buster. I love that.
You
That's a
know?
great way to share, or to even have a sense that like, confidence is stronger than fear. It is somewhere in you as a baseline, right? Which is the knowing of self, the intuitive knowing of self that many of us have lost and feel, displaced because of that, right? So if you can think of it like you have a baseline in there of confidence, but you've lost your connection with it, right? And your connection with your intuition will bring you back to that foundational confidence. Yeah.
Yes.
And that will counteract a lot of the fear that we're
Yes.
experiencing naturally.
Yes. And I want to encourage our listeners if you're not ready to throw out the cognitive way of being and processing and data
And you don't want
gathering and
to. Don't throw
no,
it out
don't
altogether.
throw it
Don't throw
out.
the bathwater out, baby
Right.
out the bathwater.
Right.
That's right.
But how can you use that strong cognitive ability, rational decision making in combination with the intuition, right?
Yes.
And this is where I think about, you know, that's where my curiosity, like the cognitive and the the thinking, the data, the research, all of that for me is in the curiosity place,
Mm,
right? So it can be a really good partner with my
yeah,
intuition.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, so as we're kind of going through the show today, what I want to say to everybody is let's just take a minute if you can, if you're not driving, I want you to close your eyes for a minute and just take a breath and take a moment to go inward and just notice the condition in general of your inner space, right? Start to just notice the sensation that's there. Is it busy? Is it humming? Is it thrumming? Is it calm? Is it heavy? What is it like, and in general, and then you might even move around to different parts of your body going into your head, you know, what's happening there. Like right now, I have kind of a slight buzzing, tingling, probably because my mind has been busy for the last 20 minutes or so talking. And then when your throat and your neck, kind of what's happening in there, what's the sensations in there, coming down into heart space and belly. And just noticing the sensation, the overall sensation of what's happening, becoming familiar with the interior space, down into your hips and your pelvis and your legs. What's happening? How are you feeling? And then inviting yourself today to make a declaration that you will, from this moment forward, begin to listen out, listen in, tune in, and wonder about your own intuition. If you already have a relationship with it, you might wonder how you can strengthen your relationship with your intuition now? Going forward, how can you make it more of a partner in your dance of life? And nice big breath in and out. Mm. So, as we move to close this show today, I invite everyone to know it's a given. You have a beautiful intuition. You have an intuition that can lead you back into your true, strong, natural sense of confidence and a real, true sense of this is the life that was meant for me. Yeah. And wow, to think of it as a fear buster, Laurel,
Mm.
let's add that in. That was a great term. That's just the biggest bonus of all.
A lot of fun talking with you and just things coming up.
I know, I know,
Yeah,
I know. So good.
really, what a beautiful topic.
What a beautiful topic. Yeah. Yeah. So we want to help you grow your intuition. We want to help you get connected to it. We want to help you strengthen it. Come to our retreat and spend some time with us. We would love to see you there. We're going to be working on the topics of vulnerability and authenticity. And so, of course, we're going to be touching into intuition
Yes, we are.
and that chakra and all the chakras. And if you want a little more knowledge around that, we'll be exploring that a little bit. So, we've got so many good things planned, don't we, Laura?
We do. And what better way to get to know yourself
Yeah.
and increase your confidence through being able to be yourself?
Be yourself and listen,
Yeah,
like that's one of the things about, our retreat is you'll have time to actually listen in to your own self and the truth that others come to bring and share, which often taps us more deeply into our own truth as well. Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
Okay, off we go for now. We'll be back for more beautiful work, beautiful life.
Bye. Thanks for being
Bye.
with us, listeners.
Thank you. Bye for now.